Alright everybody, it's been a few days since Hollow Mind has released. I think we gotta start talking about the Collector. Now in my last two videos where I went over Hollow Mind, I discussed mainly the main meat of the episode, and then discussed the background images in Belos' mind. Now unfortunately in both those videos there were a few things that I got wrong. I wasn't aware of the Hunter Grimwalker theory going into this. I just kind of watched Owl House for fun, and I just recently have started talking about my thoughts on it, so I wasn't exactly up to speed on the latest theories and such, so I didn't even know what a Grimwalker even was until this episode. I did do my research though, so now I know I'm pretty much caught up with everybody, and so that's why I want to talk about the Collector, because I did even do some outside research that I think could be potentially pretty interesting. So, with the sort of reveal of the Collector in this episode, we did have a line, what is assumed to be the Collector, back in knocking on Hooty's door. It was in Ida's dream, where it looks like this sort of Collector, I don't know, as we assume it's the Collector. I believe it has the same voice as well, and it even has the Collector in the credits of that episode, where they capture the Owl Beast, Ida, and they say like, oh, you're trying to run away, Beast? You can't get away anymore. And that was pretty much it. There wasn't really too much there. We just kind of had them exist, and the Collector also was laughing. But that's just the Collector, as we've come to know this little guy. So people were theorizing that maybe the Collector owns the Owl Beast, or the Collector created the Owl Beast, or something like that. Since the Owl Beast doesn't exactly fit into anywhere, no one really knows what the Owl Beast is on the Boiling Isles, so it probably came from the Collector somehow. At least that's what people are theorizing. So then we get to Hollow Mind, and we have quite a few lines from the Collector, which are pretty interesting. The most interesting is when the Collector first talks to Belos, and says, "To you who strays so far from home, to me who's trapped beneath these bones, we'll play forever, me and you, when you paint the land in 9 bright hues." So this is just simply talking about the Day of Unity. We already know what Belos' plan is for the Day of Unity. It is to reunite the people with the Titan. Now, people have interpreted this in several ways. 1, it's just a lie. 2, the Titan is already dead, so if you reunite people with a Titan, you're going to kill them, which obviously we know now that Belos wants to do. He wants to eliminate all witches because he is a witch hunter. It just makes sense that he thinks he's the hero of his own story and will go to any means to wipe out all the witches on the Boiling Isles to keep Earth safe, because that's how he was raised. Back in the 1600s, there were many witch trials. I talked about the Salem witch trials in my previous video, but there were also Connecticut witch trials, and it actually seemed to be the Hartford witch trials that predate the Salem witch trials by around like 30 years. I got a comment saying it was between 1647 and 1663, which would be right around that age where Belos was a young child / coming into the Boiling Isles. Regardless, back to what the Collector was saying, the 9 bright hues are obviously the 9 covens, and we know that through the coven heads, Belos is gonna somehow suck out all the magic and create a portal to the human world. They're going to let the Collector be freed from underneath the bones because they're trapped under there, and I'm not entirely sure what's going to be happening. I do like, at the end, that you see the Titan wake up, start screaming, and then the people who are like praying to the Titan, they're just wiped away. So maybe with all this magic, they're going to revive the Titan, and then once the Titan gets up, the Collector will be freed and will do something? We don't really know just yet. The Collector exists in this form, which is an interesting form. And on Twitter.com, Dana does compare the Collector to the sort of vibe that you get from Varro's art. Now, I don't really know too much about Remedios, I don't know if I'm saying that name correctly, Varro, but they're a surrealist artist who lived from 1908 to 1963, so less than 100 years ago, and they had some very interesting sort of surreal art. I don't really know how to describe it other than that. And then also styled after Picasso's art. Now, I'm pretty sure many people have heard of Picasso. I have heard of Picasso, but I haven't heard of Varro before. But Dana does say that Varro's art was a huge inspiration in the Collector's design, as we can kind of see. There's even the Picasso sort of half and half. I don't really know how to describe it, but you see that half and half where it's like the sun and the moon with the Collector's design. Or you see the sun and the moon on their body, like on their little, I don't know, chest part. I don't know what to refer to this as. It's just he's just a guy. He's just a funny little guy. I've seen a lot of people compare him to like Bill Cipher, just being maximum chaos, which is very true. But yeah, the whole sun and the moon thing kind of reminds me of like Picasso. And then just this sort of surrealist is very interesting. It also makes sense that in Dana's recent art stream, which I haven't finished watching, they talked about how they played the Exquisite Corpse sort of game. Now, for those who don't know what Exquisite Corpse is, I didn't know what they were talking about, so I actually came across it while I was researching Varro. So it's a sort of technique, but also a game that was invented by surrealist artists, and it's basically where you divide a paper into different sections, and through those different sections, each artist gets a portion of that paper, and then when they all draw on it, they combine it all together to create this weird, surreal piece of art that sort of is connected, but in very, very strange ways, where you can only see, like, you get, like, the intro, like, the bottom of the other person's piece, and you have to, you know, take that bottom of the piece and, like, keep going with it, and then you do the same thing to the next artist. So that's what Dana and her team apparently did, and I found that very interesting because she found that Varro was a huge inspiration, and then also said she did some of the same techniques or games that Varro used to do, which I thought was very cool. So I don't know if that's exactly how the collector came to be. Maybe it was just sort of inspired by that sort of stuff that they created. I don't know. Either way, I thought it was a very interesting thing to share, just kind of coming from the collector's design. So if you've been on social media and, you know, you've been searching around, seeing some Owl House art as I do, you've seen this image tossed around a lot, or at least fan art of this image. So this is another image from Dana's art stream a few weeks ago, and she claimed that it was a new character, and we assume it's from Season 3 because the other artists with her didn't know who the character was because they hadn't worked on Season 3, so it seems like this character is Season 3. Dana also did claim that this character won't actually show up in the show, but she may have been joking because the other artists were like, we don't know if she's lying or not, so whether this character is actually going to show up in the show is unconfirmed, but we know that they exist somewhere in a potential alternate universe, if not nothing else. So what a lot of people think this character is the collector possessing Luce, which I kind of see. The sort of facial features and hair, sort of, it could easily be Luce. Like, a lot of people see it as Luce, and that is the main theory. I was very confused because I was seeing so many collector Luce art, and I was starting to get very confused. So I tracked down the origin, and it came from Dana's art stream, and that's where it all comes from. But even so, with all the information that we have on the collector, we don't really have too much that we can really say. We know that they're going to cause chaos on the Day of Unity. They're bored, they want to have fun. Like, they're clearly taunting Belos when Belos is talking about how he likes making Grimwalkers just to destroy them, which is honestly probably the case, because we know that a Grimwalker now is a clone, basically, or it uses DNA from Belos' brother that he killed, and he cloned his brother, most likely because his brother stopped being a witch hunter, and Belos wasn't having that, so he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna bring you back, because now I have power over you. I have control over my brother now. So it's probably just some weird twisted thing where he keeps bringing his brother back and watching him die over and over again. And maybe he's sad. It's hard to say how Belos truly feels. But in my opinion, knowing how twisted Belos is, he probably just does bring him back for the fun of it, which is why the collector even says that. But yes, unfortunately, to my knowledge, we still don't know enough about the collector to make any solid judgments. I am very much researching a lot more often because I feel like I'm a bit behind compared to everybody else with knowledge and such. So luckily, when I read all your comments, I just feel like I get this overwhelming pool of knowledge that comes from all sides that I can kind of decipher, like, oh, is that right? Is that right? Is that right? It's very helpful, so I very much appreciate it. And it's very helpful for me to continue to improve my videos. So I also want to say real quick, thank you also for 2,000 subscribers. That was pretty quick. I've been making these videos for 2 weeks. It's like 100. That was like 1,000 subscribers per week. That's pretty insane. Jeez, thank you very much. I'm very surprised. I've been doing YouTube for 3 years on my gaming channel, and I only have like around 1,200 subscribers on that channel, and it's been 3 years. Then I start making videos on this topic for 2 weeks, and I already have 2,000. So it's a little overwhelming, but that's fine. Just very much, again, thank you, and I'm glad you're enjoying the videos. I'll continue to see if I can improve them from here. But again, that'll be it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all for the review of Edge of the World.